Hey ladies, welcome to episode 109 of the Health, Life, and More for Women podcast. It's your host, Jennifer D'Amato, and today I'm talking about the non-diet diet. Yeah, it's possible to be dieting without being on a diet. Let's dive right in. Welcome to the Health, Life, and More for Women podcast. My name is Jennifer D'Amato, a certified intuitive eating counselor, coach, mom of four, lover of all things pink, and I want you to live your best health and your best life. I believe the way we can all do that is by finally walking away from diet culture, by relearning what your body needs, reconnecting with your body's biological signals, and redefining what health is on your terms. This show will shed some light on sneaky ways diet culture has infiltrated your thoughts, your family, and your well-being. My heart is that no matter the episode, you walk away feeling informed, inspired, and encouraged. Let's go. All right, so first let me clarify. I'm not talking about the actual diets that are using marketing techniques like it's a lifestyle. I mean, those are their own beast, right? And that was part of my story, was the trap of a diet masked as a lifestyle. I was deeply entrenched in macro counting and told this isn't a diet, this is a way of living, until you're completely and utterly sucked in and obsessed with every number, until you can't eat something because it doesn't fit in your macros, until you haven't worked out enough to earn what you're eating. That is a different beast. I'm actually talking today about the things we do in our thoughts that are dieting. So this is when you're not on a diet. You're not even on those lifestyle, right? So you're not following a program. You're not using some app, to follow points or calories or anything like that. I mean, you're not doing anything specific, but this is the big B-U-T, but you're dieting. In your thoughts, you are dieting. So what does that look like? The first is when words like should, shouldn't, can, and can't show up. I shouldn't be having that. I should only be eating this. Well, I can't have that. Now, again, this is not talking about any dietary restrictions, if you have an intolerance or an allergy or anything like that. That's not what I'm talking about here. It's this belief that you need to restrict. That's where the shoulds and the shouldn'ts and the can and the can'ts, all of that shows up from the thought process of restriction. So take a moment. Survey. You could actually go through the day and just even notice with compassion and grace and a gentleness towards yourself, how often do you think, I can't have that. I shouldn't be eating this. I should only have this. And it might even show up in ways like, well, I haven't worked out. I haven't done something to earn my food. That whole earn and burn. I don't know if it's a thought you have out loud, but this can swirl around in your head. The earning, the shoulding, the can'ts, the cans, all of this is where a diet mentality comes from. Now, most of this is not your fault. Most of this has been taught to you. There's morality in food, right? You should be eating salads, but you shouldn't be eating donuts. I don't know why those are my two examples, but they are. You've been taught these messages, and you might have been taught them from parents or other influential people in your life. You may have been taught them from years of dieting. There's all these rules that have infiltrated your thoughts, and it keeps you in a diet mentality, even if you're not dieting. The second area that I see is if you have negative thoughts about your body, you'll stay dieting even when you're not on a diet. There is this vital connection we end up making between our food choices and the size, shape, weight, whatever, of our body. They're like so intertwined and muddied together that if we are stuck in a pattern of criticizing our body, picking it apart, we are most likely in some way restricting our food. And that restriction can show up in putting off our hunger signals, in cutting out entire food groups, especially right now, when I'm recording this, we're in the midst of the holiday season, and the messages about cutting carbs right now is hardcore. Like it's on double duty right now, if not quadruple duty, let's be honest. So you're in this place of cutting out something, which if you've been around here for a while, there is a direct connection, a direct line from restriction to overeating. Restrict, 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 overeat. Restrict, overeat. Restrict, 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 overeat. Like the pattern is going to be the same, no longer. The time frame doesn't matter. It sometimes is a really short cycle, restrict, overeat, and sometimes it's restrict, and I can restrict longer and restrict long, and then boom, I overeat. Feels like binge-like behavior. That is what's going to happen. That is the cycle. So if you're having these negative thoughts about your body, and then you start restricting again, and you maybe right now you're like, I didn't even notice it. I didn't even notice it that I was doing that and that connection until right now. Because they're so intertwined, because we've been taught to do this. That if you are not happy with your body right now, the answer is change it. Not work on your thoughts, not improve your mental health, not dive deeper into what's causing that, what's out there in our culture and society and the messages you're taking in. Nope, we've been taught you're not happy with your body. The answer is go on a diet. Think about that. I mean, this answer doesn't work, yet this is what the equation has become. So I want you just to take note. Am I having these negative thoughts about my body? How is that showing up when I show up to eat? All right, the last area I want to address is maybe even the hardest one because you have no idea that it's going on. You have no idea you're following these food rules that are harming you because it's just been how you've been operating for so long. I work with, most of the women I work with are 50 and up. And when we talk about food rules, when we talk about ones that they grew up with, ones that they're currently living with, there's usually these, oh my goodness moments. There are these like, I never questioned that. I never thought about it until now. Because they've become our norm. We've carried these rules that somebody else created, whether it's about certain food groups or snacking or just how you even show up for dinner time. I'm always amazed at my clients having these epiphanies, like amazing epiphanies of, wait a minute, I feel like I need to sneak food as a grown adult because that's what I started doing to avoid hearing my mother tell me I'm going to get fat if I eat any more than one cookie. Grown adults sneaking food. And why? Because these rules are so ingrained in us, and we often don't question them until we start questioning them. I always say we don't know until we know, and once we know, it's like we know. You're never going to be able to go back once we uncover those areas. And most of them are hidden. Most of them are not things we think about because, well, it's just been how it is, since I was 6, since I was 10. I can remember working with a client, I think around 65 years old, who could still reiterate messages from her mom. I have other clients who, between their 60s and 70, who can retell me stories, word for word, from their childhood when it came to food messages and food rules. Think about the impact those rules have that you might not even know until we start doing the work to uncover it. Now, I'm not saying we stay there and we're not sitting here blaming our parents and doing all that. There's no point in any of it. But what we can do is start sorting it out, right? Put it on the table and decide what stays, what goes, what's helpful, and what's harmful. And then you are completely empowered to define what health is for you. You are the expert on you. Yeah, not even your mom. She may still tell you that she is, but she's not. You are the expert on you. And you finally get to decide, what do I believe is true? What is best for my body? What do I want to live by? What things do I want to hold when it comes to my body and food and how I show up and how I feel about my choices? I love that shift when it happens. So when you look at all of this, when you take in what I've shared here about dieting without a diet, this is why the program that I've created for women has 3 parts: relearn, reconnect, and redefine. I think you can start to see why you need the relearn part, right? You need to unlearn in the relearning. Dive through those food rules. The ones that are harming you need to go, but some of them need to be uncovered first. There's messages you're carrying around from all the dieting, from years and years of restricting and dieting, and maybe even dieting without a diet, that you need to let go of, that you need to even see and decide, is this working for me? Is this what I want? But first, putting them on the table. So that relearn component is really relearning what is best for your body. What has been happening over the last 10, 20, 30, 40? I could go on and on, knowing who I work with, how many years they've been in that mentality. The second part is reconnecting, because there is a huge disconnect to our body signals, especially if our body size, our weight, has been impacting what choices we make around food. If you are in that restrict overeat cycle, and no matter how quick that turns around, how long that takes, that you hit a breaking point, you're in that cycle, this is where we break the cycle. In the reconnect part is we start reconnecting with your body's intuition, what your body was born doing. People ask me all the time, I probably say it's the number one question I get, like, how do you define an intuitive eater? You were born that way. You literally were born that way. Sometimes I use that toddler example, but the toddler before, anyone has really come in and tried to shift and change eating habits. But you were born this way. And that's what we reconnect with, is how your body was meant to be. And then lastly, the reason the last part is redefining is you need that empowerment to decide what is helpful, what is harmful, what is staying, what is going, and how do I define health for me on an individual basis. So maybe up until listening to this episode, you've been like, well, I don't know if intuitive eating is right for me. I don't know if working with Jen even is what I need, because I'm not formally dieting. And maybe today you went, wait a minute, I'm not formally dieting, but I'm mentally dieting. I'm doing these things. I'm restricting. I'm having the shoulds and the shouldn'ts. I'm living by these rules, or I'm starting to really think like, wait a minute, this isn't working for me. I'm in a restrict overeat no matter what. Or I even find myself overeating. So that really is my signal that I'm probably restricting somewhere. I have great news. You can break the cycle. You can start today. You no longer have to be dieting without a diet. You no longer have to diet. You can work on all of these things. You can relearn, reconnect, and redefine your health on your terms. I can tell you, living on both sides of this, that where I'm living now as an intuitive eater, as somebody who has done the relearning, which involves some unlearning, reconnecting, that was a process, but one totally worth it. And finally getting to the point of redefining, oh man, I probably can't even describe it well, because it has just become the norm. It's become the norm for me. And I watch my clients make these shifts. Everybody's process is a little different. Everyone's messages in their head are a little bit different. But when they start this process, it's so beautiful to see what happens. And I want that for everyone. Like, I really do want that for every person, because of how freeing it is, because you feel so much more connected to yourself. And those messages that you can't avoid, the marketing, the billions of dollars put into telling you need to shrink the size of your body, all of a sudden, you not only have strategies and tools to deal with it, but sometimes you don't even hear it. Literally, it's like a mute button exists in your mind. Oh, it's so beautiful. I want it for you. And if you go, I want it for me too, yay, head into the show notes. Apply for one-on-one coaching. What that looks like is just some information that you're giving to me, but also starting to uncover for yourself. It's almost that first part of uncovering what's been going on for you. What are you feeling most stuck with right now? And maybe even looking at what would you like? Maybe the idea of, well, I just want to feel free. I don't want to stress about food anymore. I don't want to constantly be thinking about my body. I want to accept, who I am and how I look and all that. Maybe that's what it is. So it gets you thinking, but it also helps me determine, is this going to be a good fit? Are you ready to step into this process? And then once you fill out the application, you're redirected to my calendar. Book a spot that works for you, where you can sit down and we can talk for about 30 minutes, 45 minutes, and kind of just really look at where you are, where would you like to go, what's coming up for you right now, and then decide if this is the best time, the best fit, and we'll go from there. There's no story you could share with me that would shock me. I work with so many women with so many stories. And my clients, if they were sitting here, on the other side of the mic, would tell you there's no judgment. There's only compassion and curiosity. So if that's, concerning you, if you're like, but gosh, I have so much shame and so much guilt, you're not alone. And on the other side of that call is someone who holds space for all of that. You don't have to wait until the new year. You don't have to put this off. You can just say, I don't even want to start a new year with all of this going on in my head. And I want to feel supported. I want to feel encouraged. And I want to know I'm taking those steps away from this place, this cycle of restrict, overeat, and feeling like garbage about myself. That you've just decided this is the last year I ever operate this way. So if you head into the show notes, apply for coaching, book a call, you can head to www.healthcoachforlife.com/apply, and that'll take you there. I love seeing women step into this freedom. I really do. It's honestly something that brings me so much joy that I smile. I literally smile talking about it. That's how much joy it brings me. It also brings me great joy to sit here and bring this to you, to have these conversations, to give you an opportunity to go a little deeper, look at things and notice, get curious for yourself without judgment. All right, ladies, until next week. Hey ladies, I'm not sure if you've heard, but I've created a free private group for women. It's called Health Over Weight. It's on Facebook, and all you have to do is head into the show notes now, click Join Private Group, and you can be invited into this space where other women are working on positive body image. They're also working on the fundamentals of intuitive eating and just supporting one another. I go live each week. There's a different topic, and I want to invite you into this group. So if you are ready to dip your toe in, or you've been on this journey for a while and you're just looking for added support and encouragement, come join us in this free private Facebook group for women. See you there.